Hello, welcome back. Thank you for joining me. And well, if you're just joining me for the first time, welcome. We're in the midst of a discussion about the Holy Spirit's curriculum, which is chapter 12 of the text of A Course in Miracles. And the universal relevance of today's conversation can't possibly be understated. It is applicable to each and every one of us. Something will be said over the course of the next 20 minutes or so that you're meant to hear. So I do invite you to stick around for that. We've spoken in recent videos about the ego's dictate, seek but do not find. This is the task that we set ourselves to here in the world. Seek, but do not find. Another way of looking at this is saying, try to learn, but don't succeed. Try to learn, but don't succeed. In fact, don't even come close. Stay stuck forever. And we spin on what you could rightly see as a hamster wheel, a proverbial hamster wheel where we run in place with great effort, attempting to get somewhere, yet we're getting nowhere. We're completely stationary. To the extent that that is a helpful visual analogy, that's what we're doing here in the world when we think we're individuals, when we think that this thing that you see right here constitutes who we are. It is not who we are, yet when we think that it is, we've fashioned an entire planet full of stuff, full of excess activity and frustration, full of lack, full of warfare and pitched battle at all times and in all circumstances. Now, sometimes there are beautiful moments. There are cute puppies and cute kittens. There's getting a hug from a loved one. There are beautiful sunsets. There are gorgeous meals and bottles of wine. There are hot, sexy walks on the beach with your lover. There are moments, and they're interspersed with all of the drama, often in rapid succession. We feel great 1 minute, 15 seconds later, something has happened to upset that apple cart, so to speak, to disturb our peaceful, joyous equilibrium and send us right back down the drain from whence we came. Yeah, not a very enticing image, but this is what happens when we think that we're an ego. This is what happens when we think we're separate from our brother, when we think we're separate from God. We're completely confused, and we are that hamster running in place, attempting to get somewhere and exhausting itself. The solution for this overwhelm, the solution for this separation, and all of the suffering and pain that comes along with it is not to continue to run in place on the wheel. It is to get off it. So if you were the hamster, in order to get the wheel to stop, you stop running because it's running under your power. Invite you to think about this. It's important in order to solve any problem that we first recognize that there's a problem. If you don't recognize the problem, you cannot possibly be expected to solve it. That's true. We'd all agree on that. There would just be this nagging sense of something wrong. Now, what's required of us is an adult endeavor. It's for grown-ups, because in order to deal with this conundrum, we have to first be willing and unafraid to look at it. Yeah, I know. To look at it directly. Otherwise, how are we going to do anything at all with it? And what do we do looking at it directly? Well, we appeal to the Holy Spirit, our inner teacher, for help in seeing it for what it is. Nothing, and we then set it aside. But first, we must look at it. What the ego, this false sense of individual self, is saying is don't look. Run around and pretend you're looking. Yeah, pretend, but don't look. Whatever you do, don't look. Don't look. Look. Please, look. When we set ourselves this impossible and indeed insane goal of try to learn but don't succeed, anything that is sensible, God is, ideas leave not their source, there is only perfect oneness. Any sensible ideas such as these will be rejected. Yeah, categorically rejected, perhaps, and then not taken up again for some time, or at the very least, doubted. That's part of the spiritual path. We all experience it. So if you're questioning this message, if you're questioning this course, that's excellent. Not only is it normal on the path, it's also very, very good. But I invite you not to stop with questioning what appears to come out of this communication device here on YouTube, which is all that it is. Keep going with the questioning and question the very foundations of everything you now believe. And don't stop until you've done just that. That is what Jesus encourages us to do in the workbook for students. If you've been through it, you'll remember the introductory words to the workbook where he says that we bring a willingness to question everything we now believe. And don't stop. Can this be scary? Yes. Can it be frightening? Yes. That is what our inner teacher is for. That is what human teachers are for. That is what support is for on the path. And you have it, all of it. This is where we lean on it, especially the guidance of our inner teacher, who is part of our mind, not an external, foreign object or power. So when we hear the message of the Holy Spirit, we're prone in our wildly chaotic, frantic, insanely deluded state to reject it. What's going on is we're so overwhelmed, we're so overrun and confused that the mind is in fact stymied and can't love. It can't form generalized and abstract thoughts because it's so preoccupied with the minutia and the details of life as we've made it, which is completely an illusion and that we can set aside at any moment. What we do is we attack ourselves. We think we're cut off and separate from our brother. We are not cut off and separate from our brother. In our judgment of our brother, we're judging whom? Ourselves. Your brother is you. There is no separation of any kind. So, this try to learn but do not succeed curriculum of the ego is a course in how to attack ourselves. When you attack a brother, you're not attacking a separate entity. There are no separate entities. You're attacking yourself. In your mind, where the action really lies, you're attacking yourself. We must all realize this. We must all take this message to heart. That's why it is repeated so often. What's going on here? We have absolutely no idea about the power of our own mind or the power of who and what we really are. So we set ourselves the impossible goal of running in circles and expecting enlightenment as a result. We want to maintain the separation and yet attain the peace of God, and they're completely incompatible. It's one or the other. Which will you choose? Which will you choose? Because here we fight against truth and we succeed because it's what we want. Do you want separation? Then voila, you've got it. Do you want the peace of God? Voila. What do you get? Yes, you're that powerful. So we're invited throughout the study and practice of A Course in Miracles to want the peace of God and nothing else, to want the peace of God and nothing else. There is nothing else. We're invited to allow truth to be just as it is. We're getting what we want deep down when we struggle, when we judge and condemn and blame ourselves. We think we're judging and blaming and condemning other people. We are not. There are no others. There is only perfect oneness. And the ego is a mistaken belief. It is a mistake. It's a belief that the mind is completely isolated and alone. It is not. That's impossible. There is no separation of any kind. So the more we hear these ideas, the better. Every time we hear them, we can choose to accept them or we can reject them. Even not listening is a choice. We all have a choice. We can deny all of this completely, but let's think about what happens when we do. It's more of the same. It's the hamster wheel. It's samsara. If you're a student of Buddhism, yeah, the wheel of cyclic existence is like a hamster wheel where we keep doing the same things and coming back over and over and over and over and over again to repeat the same lessons over and over and over again. But if we attempt to solve the same lessons with the mindset that created the problem in the first place, what do we get? Ooh, more, 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 over and over and over and over and over and over until such point as we formulate the wish to have the peace of God and nothing else. Escape from this wheel is not only possible, it's assured. Why? Because there is a limit on our ability to tolerate the BS, if I may say so. There is a limit placed on our ability to miscreate. At some point, when we don't really know, perhaps for you it will be today, but at some point, we will formulate the wish to have the peace of God and nothing else. We will begin to recognize that there's more to it than just this device and its needs, and that we can set the ego aside because it is nothing. So perhaps today you're inspired to do just this. That's always my hope, that hearing these ideas will inspire you to put them into practice, because that is where we learn. I can't say this enough. This course is learned by doing it. Doing it. It is one thing to understand these ideas intellectually. They're not high and mighty and lofty ideas. They're quite simple. They're very simple. We choose to introduce complications ourselves because we've adopted the ego's complicated, convoluted, and ridiculous, when you think about it, goal of try to learn but don't learn, don't succeed. Oh no, do anything but that. So we introduce one complication and but one complication after another. It's unnecessary, and you could choose to drop it right now. You could. And my hope is that you really want to. So we can't say, can we, that the way to reach a goal is not to reach it? We're invited here to resign as our own teacher. Resign as your own teacher. Who's your teacher? The Holy Spirit. Jesus, your inner teacher. You may call this whatever you want. Remember, this is part of our mind that knows who we are, that will guide you and show you, lovingly guide you and show you, not forcingly, not with blunt force trauma and coercion, but love, with love. We're invited to take our inner teacher as our only teacher and get out of our own way, because all we do is stumble. All we do is create one obstacle after another for ourselves. We learn from the Holy Spirit, whose curriculum is completely unambiguous because it is unified. All we're asked to give is our undivided attention, and the rest will be given to us. It's said in many places in A Course in Miracles that all that's required of us is to bring what is known as a little willingness, just a little willingness to learn, which is enough. We give the Holy Spirit just even a fraction of a second. That's enough. Any invitation he'll respond to fully, because the Holy Spirit's not partial. The Holy Spirit is whole. So even the slightest invitation is enough. So can you imagine because the Holy Spirit responds totally and completely to even the slightest invitation. Can you imagine if that invitation is a blanket invitation, unlimited invitation and ongoing? Your learning is unlimited because you are unlimited. You are unlimited. We are all unlimited. So, to the extent that you're ready to hop off that hamster wheel, recognize that the ego's curriculum makes no sense. The way to learn is not to avoid all learning. The way to awaken is not to avoid awakening at all costs. So these ideas, and indeed all of the ideas in this course, may sound extremely simple. Just a reminder here that we introduce all of the levels of complication ourselves. We listen to simple, very simple messages, and we think it can't possibly be so simple. There's got to be more to it than that. And then we start thinking about hypotheticals. What if this? What if that? Is it really this way? All of that. We stumble and get in our own way. And pretty soon we're off judging ourselves. We're off judging other people. We're off judging the weather and the color of paint on the walls and all kinds of things. We busy ourselves. We make ourselves utterly frantic with minutia. All of our rapt psychodrama, which we could choose to set aside. So I hope that you get the power of your mind, power of who we are, because there is one mind. Your mind isn't individual and separate from somebody else's mind, separate from another mind or another mind or another mind or another mind. One equals one, not 8 billion. That's the math test in this course. One. It's simple. And it means what it says. So, to the extent that this video or any of these videos inspires questions, that is perfectly valid and appropriate. And I invite you to ask questions here. On the spiritual path, which is of itself a path of deep self-inquiry, there is no such thing as a question that's too basic. The way we say it in the world, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Of course there's not, especially with this. These questions are the ones that we should be asking. So if you have them, please don't hesitate to ask. And if you have not subscribed, please do so. We'd love to have you. The prompt is here in the corner of your screen. Go ahead and click that, hover over that arrow down there, and you'll be invited to subscribe and join us. Thank you to all of you who have recently done that. There are several videos that appear each week. We've been going through the text of A Course in Miracles. And again, my job here is simply to share the Holy Spirit with you and to serve as a guide. So however I may be of assistance to you on your journey, I hope that you will please reach out to me and let me know, and I'll be happy to help. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk soon.